So under CO2, you get a hybrid, like a traditional CO2. CO2 laser, and then you also get a hybrid, which is a combination of a fiber and a CO2. So that I'll explain the difference now. So it's called a CO2 galvo as well, and then the one you have for fabric is a CO2, but for fabric, and it's specifically for fabrics. You can't cut anything else with it, even if you want, because the tube inside that machine has got is specifically designed to cut fabric. If you try other substrates like wood, perspex, you won't get the results that you normally get with a normal standard CO2 laser. All right, and then the engraver you mentioned is either a CO2 galvo or a fiber laser.
What's galvo?
So a CO2 galvo is a combination of this and that. A galvo is basically on a fiber, and you get what's called a galvanometer. A galvanometer is where your laser head is, and that's where your mirrors are as well, as opposed to the CO2 laser. So maybe let's start with the standard CO2 laser. We go through the components, and then we move to a fiber. Then we'll have an image of what a CO2 galvo is, because it's basically a combination of both. Yeah. All right. So CO2 laser, it's basically a laser cutter and engraver. It does both. However, it is only mostly used for non-metallic substrates. So your organic matter, your wood, your perspex, your leather, your fabric, paper, rubber material, mostly non-metallic substrates. It will cut and it will engrave. That's your standard CO2 laser cutter. It will cut and engrave all those things. However, it's got its own limitations. The limitations are usually dependent on the wattage of the machine and also the bed size. Number one, on wattage. You get 20 watt laser tube machine, you get a 30 watts laser tube machine, you get a 50 watt, you get a 60 watt, you get an 80 watt, all the way up to 300 watt. So the different tube sizes obviously determine your limitations in terms of the depth you can cut. The tube size is usually more to do with the thickness you can cut rather than with engraving, because engraving uses very little power. You're not going to use a lot of power to engrave. But if you want to cut, let's say someone brings you 10 mil MDF or perspex. If you've got a 30 watt, you're not going to be able to cut through that. However, if you've got a 150 watt tube, you'll cut that easily. Theoretically, they say if you just want to have a quick calculation of what you can cut, 1 watt obviously will cut 1 mil, basically. So if you've got an 80 watt, you can cut through 8 centimeters of material. So just to give you a standard understanding of what you can cut through with your laser, the easy way. So that if somebody asks you, how thick can you cut with your laser? I mean, if you've got an 80 watt, the safest way would be to tell the client that you can cut up to 6 mil. Because typically there is no 8 mil MDF, there's no 8 mil perspex. You get 1 mil, 1.5, 2 mil, 3 mil, you get 4 mil, 5 mil, it jumps to, you get 6 mil, and then it jumps to 10 mil, and 20, and then 25 sometimes. So, a CO2 laser cutter, like I've mentioned, you can cut your non-metallic substrates. If you want to do corporate gifting, You want to, somebody wants something engraved. Let's say they've got a diary, you've got a leather diary, or even leather. It's engraved on your vegan leather, your synthetic leathers as well. It engraves. The only catch there is for you to understand your speed and power parameters. What CO2 laser cutting basically is, in layman terms, is, I remember when we were young, we would play around with magnifying glasses. Yeah, you get a magnifying glass and a piece of paper or a dry leaf, and then you look for the sun, and then you do this, and the magnifying glass concentrates the sun's rays to burn the paper or the leaf. What's happening? Just like this is electronic, and there's now a CO2 laser tube that you are using as your medium, to generate the beam, the laser beam. So what's happening is you have a glass tube that's got compressed gas in it, and you've got an HT cable, high voltage power. Your high voltage line will introduce electricity to the gas. The gas acts as a medium or a carrier. It causes a reaction inside the tube, which generates an infrared beam. So that beam, what's going to happen is that before it exits the tube, it first bounces inside the laser tube. And this is happening at the speed of light to generate intensity. Once it's strong enough, on the other exit of the tube, you've got a semi-permeable mirror/lens. Once it reaches a certain intensity, that's when it's only allowed to pass through. When it passes through, it's then carried to the laser head with mirrors. So your mirrors on your laser are responsible for just reflecting that beam from mirror number 1, number 2, number 3 onto the laser head. Inside the laser head, you will find what's called a focusing lens. So that focusing lens refocuses that beam now to a fine point that is now capable of cutting or engraving. So that's basically what's happening. So they have taken the whole traditional, magnifying glass in the sun and then just, made it bougie, made it, but that's basically what's happening. Obviously, you can't have with the magnifying glass, it will take the whole day, but you want to have something that's more practical and more user-friendly. And for various reasons, it would take ages for you, obviously, to use a magnifying glass to cut. That's where CO2 laser comes in. And what are the components, of a CO2 laser? I've explained, you need a CO2 laser tube, power source, and your mirrors, your optics, which become your optics. Your optics as your mirrors. Most laser cutters have got 3 mirrors and a focusing lens. So those are your optics. And then it's got a gantry, with an X and a Y. And then all that is controlled by, obviously, some sort of software. So the reason why they are called CNCs is basically a CNC is a computer numerically controlled, item, equipment, machine. So that's a CO2 laser cutter. Without a PC or some sort of, some actually on phones and tablets, but you need a control software. That's why it's a CNC. And all that brought together, is now capable of making, really nice stuff, really, cool stuff. The applications are vast, corporate gifting, industrial, uses. You can, depending on, how far you want to go with it. You've got lasers that can still up to 10 mil thick still. You've got lasers that can engrave very deep for marking. If you want to mark parts, most parts are made from steel that is very hard. So if you want to cut, engrave parts, you're going to need also a specific laser with a specific power source. And you're talking about alloys, metals that are very strong that can't be penetrated easily. And for that, you also get various types of lasers, and that's where the fiber lasers come in for your metals. And your fiber lasers engravers will only do metals, unfortunately. They won't do anything else. But what they've done is they've matched the technology. For instance, you get a CO2 galvo. If you want to have a bit of both, what they've done is they have taken a fiber laser engraver, but instead of the traditional fiber source, they have put a CO2 laser, combined it with the galvo. So that gives you speed, precision, and also a wider range of things that you can engrave. So you can not only do steel with that machine, you can also do, if you want to do leather, if you want to do wood, it's now possible. The difference also, is the prices. The galvos are a lot more expensive than a standard CO2 laser. Or if you're buying a fiber laser engraver, if you're buying a fiber laser engraver, it's on, you're looking at maybe starting price maybe 25K for like 20 watts, and then they go up. Fiber engravers go up to say the biggest source I've seen is 100 watts. The 100 watts, people are using it to do coins, 3D engraving. So, SA Mint, the guys that make coins for our coins, they use a fiber, very high powered fiber. It's called a 3D fiber engraver. The reason why it's a 3D is because it's got what's called a 3D scanner, 3D head. The reason it has that is because a fiber, just like a printer, works at a specific focus height. That's when the beam is at its highest intensity. Let's say, for interest's sake, 20 centimeters above your metal or your material that you're engraving. So, if you want to do something like a coin that's got depth and all that, it means that your head will also need to stay in focus even after vaporizing the material on top, so that you get good clear writing on your metal. So the 3D scanner, what it does is it's got the capabilities of working on things that are not flat, so that you can engrave deep into the metal to do your coins, or most people use them for, they buy these blank coins and personalize them. So you get a gold coin, people do crazy stuff out there. You get a gold coin, you get a bronze, or just to make something for someone who wants something special, something that no one else has. And now you're getting into the personalization part of the business. So with CO2 laser cutting, other than industrial uses, corporate gifting, you also get the personalization space, where you are personalizing stuff for people who don't want. It's usually a one-off, you're not making 10 things that you're selling. It's a once-off. For those guys, let's say you buy a watch and it's an expensive watch, but somebody wants to personalize it, whether it's with a message, they want to engrave the back of the watch, they want to engrave the buckles, they want to engrave whatever they want to engrave, or put a special message on it, so that it becomes more valuable than it was when you just buy it off the shelf. You can only do that with the fiber. You can't do it with CO2 laser. CO2 laser will mainly focus on non-metallic substrates, of which there aren't that very expensive things that that are made out of wood or leather that you can personalize. But people who buy these nice watches, maybe it's it's a nice Rolex. You'd find that most jewelers who have a fiber engraver at the back and sell that as an added product. You buy a ring, let's say it's an engagement ring, you want to put maybe a Bible verse or a small little message for your partner on the ring. I mean, a ring is probably this small. Only a fiber can do that, by the way, because it's very precise. It can do characters that are about 1 mil high, and you can write in there a special verse or a special message for your your partner. So you'd find jewelers have that, and guys who do car parts have that. I installed one in Zim at Fidelity. They're called Fidelity. All the gold in Zimbabwe passes through them for refining. Yeah, Fidelity's refineries. So what they want to do with it is every gold bar gets a specific code. It's an internationally recognized code. They obviously want to avoid people selling gold on the black market. So to put that permanent stamp on gold, there's two options. You can either use a stamp, like with personal, like letters in hammered in, but that's going to take you a while. Or you can use a fiber engraver. A fiber engraver will engrave onto the gold something that is permanent. That's not. It only comes off if you melt it, obviously. But that's what they're using it for. And then there's a company in Midrand that's doing marking parts. Like they make parts for aeroplanes. So every part, everything needs a unique marker. Ascertaining, basically, that's what it is. It's ascertaining. So if everything that requires a specific part number would need a machine that would mark it, and that's where the fiber engravers, come in. And there's a company in Zim marking, also doing. Has anyone seen? It's a special sill, a black sill in your car. It could be something on your engine, or with the V number, or even on the side of the door. It's called material called Tessa. It's like a security sill type material, non-breakable. You can't, if someone engraves something on it and stick it on a product, whether it's a laptop or it's a printer or it's on the side of the car, the only way to remove that sticker is to literally hammer it out with a chisel, because it's unbreakable. And on that material, you can only engrave it with a fiber. So these guys in Zim are doing the VIN numbers, they're doing part numbers, and stick that on. And then there's another company doing normal assets, like for the government, laptops, PCs, and whatnot. They don't want them to be like, if it's solid, you can't sell it anyway, because you can't get rid of that still. It doesn't come off. And only a fiber can engrave on that material. The good thing is it can engrave and it can cut it as well. So, but once it's stuck, it's permanent. You can't take it off. So opportunities for fiber, for laser engraving are huge. You also get what's called a UV fiber. UV fiber laser. So a UV fiber laser is responsible for marking plastics specifically and glass, mostly glass. People getting tired of sandblasting, number one, onto glass, because it's very it's messy and it's a lot of work. So let's say you've got intricate design that you want to put on a glass. Yeah. With sandblasting, you have to obviously cut out vinyl, stick it there, and then sandblast. It's more like it's actually quite similar to etching, using that etching cream. the process of sandblasting. Only that sandblasting requires sand and different equipment. But people love the outcome of sandblasting. However, it takes long and it's quite messy. Chances of making mistakes are very high. That's why they designed this. A UV fiber laser will give you fine engraving on glass. Like, it's impressive. It's almost like it's been sandblasted, but take away the errors, the whole process of weeding and all that. Because if it's an intricate design, to do one glass, let's say you want to do an emblem for a school or for yeah, it's gonna take you a while to perfect that. For you to be able to stick it on the glass, weed it out correctly, make sure the characters are not coming off as you read, and sandblast it to get a defined logo or emblem. Whereas this machine here, because it's obviously laser, it's also very precise. You get those results in a few minutes. So, if you want to do trophies, I'm sure you've seen people engrave on trophies. This is faster, very precise, and would take. The only, I think, difference is that they are quite pricey and very low powered. For laser UV fiber, you're looking at maybe the biggest you can get is maybe a 10-watt machine. But that 10-watt machine will give you more than or close to 100,000 working hours. And the biggest advantage of fiber lasers is that they are almost maintenance free. So for all those 100,000 working hours you're using a fiber engraver, the only thing you need to do is probably just wipe the lens. You don't need to do anything else. Nothing more. You don't oil, you don't tighten anything. The lens stays intact, and all you need to do is just wipe the lens, that's all. And that's the only thing that usually dies. People burn lens because they forget to take off the cover, and then you run the machine, and then you start burning through the plastic on the lens, and then it contaminates the lens. So that's probably the only way you destroy one. Otherwise, it's a very good investment to any business if you really want to get into any of these industries that I've explained, and you want something that requires zero maintenance. CO2 laser, though, will require a lot of maintenance, unfortunately. A CO2 laser will require, so remember on the CO2 laser we mentioned you've got a tube, you've got mirrors and a lens. So every 2 weeks those mirrors need to be cleaned. Sometimes it depends on what you're doing or what you're cutting. The frequency of cleaning is shorter and increases as well. So what's happening basically is that dust in itself, when it gets onto the lens, the time the beam comes and hits that dust, some of that energy is retained onto that lens and it starts heating. So if you continue using it without cleaning it, you're going to bend a hole through the lens or it's going to break. So that's why you need to clean it over time. That's number one. You need to clean the lenses and your mirrors, your optics. The tube is cooled down by water mostly. So a CO2 laser is most likely going to come in two things: a submersible water pump or an industrial chiller. An industrial chiller works a lot better than the pump, because the pump means that you've got a little bucket here with water and you can fall in there. But a chiller is a closed unit. It works 100% better to cool down the tube. and regulate temperature as well. Sorry. The reason the chiller works a lot better is that if you get an industrial chiller, it comes with an intelligent system. You can set it to operate within a specific range, say between 22 and 25. You put distilled water in it, you're not going to change that water for the next 6 months. Whereas if you buy one with a submersible water pump, every 2 weeks or every week actually, depending on where you are, also depending on the season. If it's too hot, that water gets hot quickly. So people have to constantly change that water. And people have this habit of throwing ice into the water, which is bad. It's bad for one reason. One, your CO2 laser tube is made of glass. You get what are called, you get the glass tubes, but then you also get the RF tubes. RF tubes are metallic, and those cost almost as much as the machine itself to replace. So the quite common ones are the glass tubes because they're much more affordable. But what it means is that you have to make sure to take care of it. You have to make sure that your water is constantly cool, and it's better to use a chiller than to rely on a person to keep on checking the temperature and also cleaning that water and putting fresh water, because after a week there's going to be algae, it's going to be slimy, and the moment that stuff gets inside the tube, you start having problems, because then the tube starts overheating itself. When it overheats, because it's glass, it breaks. So CO2 is a bit more maintenance. It requires a bit more maintenance compared to the fiber. However, as long as you've got a chiller, I mean, there's a solution to every problem. As long as you've got a chiller, you don't have to worry about the tube, breaking or overheating. As long as your chiller is working 100%, and as long as they sell you a chiller, not a cooler. Chinese are very clever. They will tell you the machine will come with a chiller and it will come with a cooler. The difference with a chiller and a cooler is that the cooler does not have a compressor inside. It's just like it's more like a car radiator. There's a fan, and then there's just copper, tubing, and it's blowing air onto those copper tubing while the water travels. But that's not very effective, because the process of beam generation creates heat, like a lot of heat. So your water almost needs to be cooled instantly when the beam is, being generated, is going through the tube, so that there's always cold water around the chamber where the beam is being generated. So you need to be careful what you buy if you're going to buy a chiller. It has to be an industrial chiller, not a cooler. So you just need to chat to your supplier, okay? The Chinese will not tell you these things. That's one thing I've learned with the Chinese. You negotiate a price, let's say the price is $10,000, and you say, no, I've got 8. They'll say, yeah, don't worry, we'll give you everything for 8. Then what the Chinese don't tell you is that they will look for ways to make sure your machine is worth 8,000. And one of the things they do, they're very good at doing is they're very good at removing expensive parts and putting cheaper parts on the same machine. Because you literally, it's true that you literally get what you pay for in China, but they won't tell you that. You say you want a $5 shirt, they'll give you a $5 shirt. You want a $100 shirt, they'll give you an expensive shirt, good fabric, good everything. So you need to be very careful if you're going to buy, a laser cutter straight from China. You need to be specific. Tell them I want A, B, C, D, E, and it's a laser with an industrial chiller if it's a CO2 laser. Now, the UV fiber now, like the CO2 laser, will also come with a chiller as well, because the beam being generated with the UV also requires, cooling. Unlike your standard fiber engraver, your standard fiber engraver comes with they call it it's air cooled basically. It's not, you don't need a chiller. it's just air cooled. It doesn't really generate a lot of heat, and they call it forced air, and that also helps in, it's less parts to maintain. With the chiller, after a while you obviously need to maintain it, you obviously need to replace the water. Something may happen, maybe you have used dirty water instead of normal distilled water. Something happens in there. People have this habit of also putting antifreeze in there, you don't really need to do all that. You put distilled water, that's more than enough. And for 6 months you don't need to replace it. After 6 months, open the valve, drain it, and then just refill it. It's got a very strong pump. The moment you put the water in, it pushes all the water around, gets rid of all the air bubbles, and then you're good to go. In less than 5 minutes, you've done a water change, and you're back up again. So, so that's basically most lasers. But lastly, you get also what's called a fiber cutter. And the source for your aluminum and your non-ferrous materials is it's a source that is equipped with technology that blocks out the reflection from your very shiny materials. That's the only difference. Some materials will reflect the beam back into the laser head. Yeah. So you want to avoid that. That's the only difference. The other machines, let's say you're cutting mild steel. Mild steel does not, reflect. And for mild steel, you need oxygen and sometimes air, depending also on how thick you want to cut. Just normal air. You can use a compressor, specialized compressor with dryers in line to make sure that there's no water that goes through to the laser head. So then you also for like things like stainless steel, if you want to get nice clean cuts, you can also use nitrogen as well. However, nitrogen will be more expensive than argon, your argon gas. That's what's pretty common for the fiber cutters. 99%, it has to be the purest, so it must be 99% argon gas. And that's usually for mild steel only. And also for nitrogen, you're looking at your aluminum, you're looking at stainless as well. And fiber cutters are mostly used for people who are doing, we've got clients who are making trailers, like car trailers, and they want to cut through thick plate. You've got clients that are doing signage. I'm sure you've seen outside most complexes, there's this metal, piece of, with the place's name or whatever, that's cut out of metal. It's usually out of like 3mm mild steel. That's cut out in fiber as well. And guys that are just doing, manufacturing. So we've got a client in Victoria called, what are they called? I've forgotten the name. They are, Aerosad. Aerosad makes parts for your big planes. So they cut out stainless steel and then they form it into like the wings, the what some of it's usually for they make wings and they also make repair parts for aeroplanes as well. That's all they do. So they use a fiber cutter to cut out the shape, and then they have another process where they have molds that then form that part, that cut part into the shape of whether it's a tip of a wing or whatever they need to make. That's what they do, and that's why they have a fiber cutter. The reason why a fiber cutter works best for them is because for such intricate stuff, you need something that can cut precisely to a specific shape and a specific size, and that's where the fiber comes in. And also you need clean cuts that do not leave bearing at the bottom. So if you use a plasma, there's what's called a plasma. That's the cheaper version of the fiber, and it uses CO2 as well. And most times it leaves the cut is not clean. So then you're left to do post-processing, of which some people don't have the time. They want, after cutting, it goes straight for forming, and to the guys who are welding, assembling, putting the things together. And you just don't have time to hire someone to sit down and then clean the edges. And fiber is well known for producing clean cuts and also precise work. And it's mostly common in engineering applications. If you're working with an engineering firm, somebody who's doing making stuff that needs to be a specific, like plus or minus maybe 10 tolerance or 0.0 something, tolerance. You don't need to. If I say cut 10 mils of this part, it must be 10 mils. It mustn't be 10.5 or 9.5. And that's the advantage of lasers. Lasers are coming in the industry to cater for that market that wants precise and quick cuts. If you look at the alternative like CNC routing, that same company that's doing parts for the aeroplanes, they still have about 10 CNCs, and they replaced all 10 CNCs with one cutter because of time. A CNC router will take maybe 10 times the time to cut a full sheet compared to a fiber laser. Fiber laser will cut that in probably a fraction of the time it will take a CNC router to cut that particular component. And those are the advantages of lasers. Lasers are fast, number one. If, for instance, you want to get into signage with the CO2, let's say you've got a standard CO2 1.3 by 2.5. You want to get into signage, your 3D lettering, that are made out of perspex, your LED signs. You want to cut them out of perspex. You can still cut that stuff on the router. However, it's going to take you 20 times, more time. It's going to be a lot more time, and also a router produces what are they? When it cuts, it's literally taking off material, exactly. So it will produce shavings. Whereas the cutter, because it's a fine thin beam that's vaporizing anything in its way, it will not leave any shavings at all. It will simply cut through and then continue to form the shape, whatever it is, without any shavings. So on a router now, you're gonna need to get what's called a fume extractor. No, it's not. It's actually a dust extractor. The one they use for wooden shavings, whatever, metal, whatever. That if you walk into a place with a CNC, you'll see in the corner there are bags, like a lot of bags filled with dust, filled with shavings, filled with, and it just makes the place messier. Or a laser cutter, the place is usually clean, and the only mess you see are probably oils from cutting. And one advantage is that most laser cutting software comes with a nesting function. So a nesting function, once you put in your parts and you ask it to nest, you tell it the size of the sheet, and you will place those sheets in your software in a way that saves material. So you don't have to sit there trying to position this part here, that part there, that part here to try and save material. They come automatically with the nesting function. So the nesting function will do the job for you. It will automatically nest, and then you have zero or very minimum wastage at the end of the day. So it does come obviously attached with a big price tag if you're talking fiber cutters. But also that's where the market is, because not everyone affords that. There are very few people with laser cutters, and the people who have laser cutters often complain that they can't take on more jobs because they're busy with their own work, in-house work. So if you're doing, let's say, we also have another client in Asia. They do simple things. They do sinks and trunks for kids. And
you said what for kids?
you know your trunks for
Yes.
back to school. Yeah, that's all they do. So I think they supply like I don't know how many people or how many companies, and that's all they do. We often used to send clients to them, but clients would still come back because they can't do anything else for someone else because there were orders for trunks. Like let's say this company wants this much trunks. However, though, remember it's not just the laser cutting; it's just part of the process. They also have guys that are obviously welding to put the trunks together. So
Vending machine.
yes, and also some have bending machines. Yeah. So you definitely need a bending machine. So you either get bending machines will come really. There's a huge range. You get the heavy duty ones, and then you get the simpler ones. You know, for thin metal, like for trunks. I mean, you're not gonna need press brake, for instance. Press brake would probably bend like 10 mil or 20 mil plate, and everything smaller. But for thinner materials, you don't use all that heavy equipment. You get a simple bending machine, and that just, you know, it's mostly 90-degree angles. Actually, that's the majority of it. You're either bending in this way, and sometimes the other way, and that's it. And yeah, and maybe a welder. And for welders, traditionally, obviously, you've got those gas welders, you've got the MIG welders, and then fiber technology also has provided what's called a fiber welder. It's a very impressive unit, but this high. What it does is it welds, it cleans, and it also cuts. So it's a 3-in-1 machine. By cleaning, what it does is it's got an attachment on the head that you put on the head and allows you to clean rust off. Let's say you want to respray or repaint anything. It uses laser to clean the material off. Cutting was a bit of a stretch for one reason. No one really wants to hold a laser and cut something, you know, with it. For safety reasons, number one, and number two, you're never gonna cut a straight line with the laser while you're holding it in your hand. So the only people I know that are using the 3-in-1 fiber welder for cutting are people who are doing they are doing you know, these houses out of they repurpose shipping containers. So where the windows need to go, it's easier to use a welder, like to just follow. Somebody draws a square there, somebody just follows with the welder to cut that off where they're going to put the window, than what they used to do. They used to use either a grinder, like go with the grinder, or that blowtorch thing to cut. Whereas the welder does it faster and cleaner. But I mean, it's not straight, but it works better. Then you can go with the grinder and then just make sure that, you know, the window fits in there.
When you're still there, can I ask a question before I forget? On this handheld welder, cleaner,
Yes.
and cutter.
Yes.
Since you're saying the normal fiber cutter is too expensive, I know this one is slightly cheaper than
Yes.
that one. Is it possible to attach this on a CNC machine and maybe somehow combine it to
This one.
You can't.
So the hand now, maybe in the future they will, because it is basically, if you look at only the fiber cutting part of it, it is basically a fiber cutter, just that it's got no gantry. That you see, the normal fiber cutter is with the head attached to Yes, to the gantry. So it's got an X and a Y, and then it moves based on the drawing, right? Or the shape that you're cutting. Whereas this is they just literally took up the head, made it smaller, because it looks like a gun, basically. It looks like a gun. It's this small, and obviously they put a handle on it where you literally hold it and move around. So it's connected to a fiber optic cable, and it's a bundle of cables. So it's got a fiber optic cable going back to the source. It's got water pipes for cooling the head, and also a few other cables as well. So they literally took that from the cutter and made it slightly smaller and in the shape of a gun that you can hold with your hand and walk around. And it's not very long. It'll probably maybe be about 3 meters long only, to just maybe give you room to do this, cut, go here, go there. But I'm not too sure if you are able to attach it to I think at the moment it would be expensive to build something that can give you that or those capabilities, because it would probably be good as buying a fiber cutter, a flatbed, because now you see the software that comes with the fiber welder obviously is different from the one that comes with the cutter, because it's not designed to take any shape or any artwork. Yes, so they're thinking that everything is freehand. You're just going to hold it, cut the shape by hand. So it doesn't take any software. The inbuilt software that's in there only allows you to set the parameters for cutting or for welding or for cleaning. So you will set your speed, your power, your frequency in there, and that's it. And the good thing is most of them actually come with the parameters library. So let's say you want to weld aluminium, you just go there. It's like a little template attached on top of it. You go there, you choose aluminium, it will ask you to choose the thickness of the wire, that's it. And then it will populate everything, the power it needs, and the frequency and all that, the scan width and all that, it will populate all that, and then all you do is get your 2 plates and weld. So it, unfortunately, at this stage, it does not allow you to input anything onto it. Let's say you want to cut like squares, it's not going to do that, unfortunately. But hopefully, anything is possible though, because who knew? Before that, before fiber welders came in, everyone, if you want to cut metal, obviously you go to a fiber cutter, and then you can even edge your on in there depending on the materials that you're working with. What this thing does is, when it comes, you can actually literally go to the library and say, you're not going to guess that, shoot, what settings am I going to use for, let's say, 5mm stainless steel? And this thing, you just go to the library and then go choose stainless, what thickness. And then also even the pressure of the gas is preset and is controlled by the software. So you don't have to do anything. All you do is go open your gas, and that's it. Open your gas, make sure everything is on, the chiller is on, everything usually just comes on the moment you switch it on. And select for 5mm I want this, and then it cuts. And that's it. And also it's got what's called live focusing. So you see with metal, sometimes the sheets are not always flat. So, and with metal, the focus height is almost probably 1mm above the material. That's the distance the head needs to be. The pointy part of the head, the nozzle, needs to be at least 1mm above the metal. So it's really rare to find a metal that's completely flat. So it comes with live focusing. What it does is, after you've done what's called your capacitance calibration, the head senses that there's metal here, and as it travels, it tries to retain that distance. So even if the metal is like this, you will see the head move up to stay in focus and cut. And that's also one of the reasons why it reduces what's this wastage. The technology is now much better, and they want to make sure that you have zero wastage and you're getting the most out of the machine. So it will move with the metal, even if the metal is like that. You see the head moving like this and cutting through still. So, and also it's got what's called, what do they call it? Let's say you have accidentally put your metal like this, your sheet is not straight. So the laser head will try to find the metal, it will go do its thing, and you will see it on the software. It will actually put the sheet on the software the way you have it there, even if it's not straight. So that when you say cut, you're not going to cut a straight line here and then it cuts, if your material is sitting like that, it goes straight there, and then you have a big piece here at the bottom of wasted material. It will actually adjust itself, even your artwork, and then it will leave that edge and go here and cut. So it's actually an impressive machine, and hence the price tag, I think, and that's why it's getting a lot popular for people who are already even in the industry of manufacturing metallic items. It's not a machine you'd want to buy, however, though, if you haven't really done a bit of research, or if you're not maybe in metal fabrication, or it might, unless you've got a very good marketing team that knows how to market, because very few people have it, and if you want to cut for people, then yes. But if you have your own product that you're making, which is where I think that's where the money is. Money is not so much in cutting for people, because you always find people to cut for who want stuff cut. There are a lot of calls that we used to get while I used to work, because we used to sell these machines as well, and people would just call and say, I want this cut, where can I get this cut? But you realize that most people who bought these machines are busy. A company called Confirm does the ducting for, all your, if you see most of these buildings, your supermarkets, there's this ducting for air ventilation out of galvanized sheet. That's all they do. So they bought the cutter, that's the welder. And that's what they do. They just cut out the ducts and shape, weld them, and install them in most buildings. That's all he does. It's a company called Confab. Then there's a guy from Malawi. He bought the same combination, and all he's doing, I don't know how he got this. He's got a deal with Eskom. He makes the metal DB boards for most of the installations. So all they do is make those boxes, those panels that you put your breakers, your whatnot, that's all he does. So they cut them, form them into shape, powder coat them, and that's it. That's what they're doing. And another company is doing cases for batteries for the mines. So the mines are also going moving away from normal Eskom. So, and also for health reasons, what are they called? Those go carts, those forklifts.
Mm-hmm.
They are now for mines. Most of them are now battery powered. They're no longer using petrol or diesel. Because with petrol or diesel, if you're underground, where is the smoke going to go? Yeah. So most of them. So this guy, all he does is make cases for the batteries, for equipment, for the dump trucks, for whatnot. That's all he does. He makes the batteries, so he saw it a niche, and to protect some of those batteries, they need special cases. That's what he does. That's what he cuts. He's got a team that just sits there and holds them, puts them together after cutting the pieces, and put them together. And so there are endless possibilities, but I mean, like anything else, you need to do your research and understand where you think the market really is.
But I'm saying from these three
Yeah.
technologies that you just mentioned,
Yeah.
number 3 has got the most money.
Number 3, yes. So this is the most money. These are for, like I said, I mean, corporate gifting, your corporate gifting, your companies that buy these usually for their own use already have products that they're selling as well. All these 3. I'll give you an example. If you go into any outdoor warehouse right now, they've got a fiber engraver. Well, how do they sell a fiber engraver? Because they sell outdoor stuff, things like knives, your Stanley mugs. People want to personalize those when they buy them. Let's say you're gifting someone, so they put a name on it. So they use a fiber. You buy a knife, hunting knife, put a sign. You want to personalize it. So they charge, I think if I'm not mistaken, 50 to 80 rand per engraving, depending on what you want to engrave. So anyone who buys a card, so every outdoor warehouse has. And then same applies to, there's a company called Safari Agri in Namibia. It's the equivalent to outdoor warehouse here, and they're trying to follow suit. So they're also buying the fiber engravers for all their branches. And what they're doing is, they also do guns. They have a company that makes guns, hunting rifles, and they people want the barrels engraved as well. Applications are endless, guys. I just remembered, I also installed one at Milko. Milko is South African based. Milko makes anything from guns, grenade launchers, drones. You know the drones? It was my first time seeing a drone, like the ones you see in American movies. Can you believe that South Africa makes drones, guys? South Africa here, we make drones,
So
we make guns.
Is it like a military drone or is it
Military drones. And it's not just Milko, their competitor is called Paramount, also based here. They are making, Paramount is making boats, making drones, making aeroplanes, and these things are being made here, small, light aeroplanes, but for military uses. The guns Milko makes are used by the US Army. And the reason why they wanted the fiber is they wanted to serialize those guns, just put serial numbers on the guns, on anything they make. And that's just one side of things, just marking guns and equipment. And it's there's a lot out there, there's a lot you can do with any one of these machines, there's a lot you can do. And like you say, the big money obviously is here. Yeah, that's where most of the money is. And but if you want to add on, however, let's say you already have you're in the branding space already. If you want to add on to your catalog, something you can do. You can get but you already have. You already have a fiber. I believe you have a fiber and the CO2 as well. The two that you described. And the one for fabric, unfortunately, it's mostly for fabric. When they design it, they put a special laser tube in it. I know this because we once tried to cut and engrave perspex, and the quality wasn't that good because it's specifically designed for fabric.
Yeah, even the tubes are not labels.
Yeah.
What age for them?
Also, with fiber, ripped jeans. Do you know what they use for ripped jeans? They use a laser. It's a laser that does the ripping. Yeah. So it's a laser. So it's yeah. There's a lot that's the opportunities are quite huge. Yeah. But yeah.
I wanted to ask on the fiber cutter.
Yes.
I'm sorry, that's where I
No.
have interest on the fiber cutter there.
Yes.
When you're comparing it, the one that you spoke about, the handheld one,
Yes.
you said it does cutting, welding, cleaning,
Yes.
cleaning the rust, right?
Yes.
So on the welding part,
Yes.
as compared to our traditional welding methods,
Yes.
consumption-wise, we're talking about rods on our normal welding. The costing, is it a big difference? Is it the same? I know quality-wise, this is good.
Yes.
It has very good quality. But when it comes to consumables, do you think if I was doing a product maybe for 100 rand, and then now I'm using this kind of welding, what is the price difference when it comes to our costing?
It actually works out cheaper because you use welding wire.
Mm-hmm.
The same welding wire that you use instead of rods, there's a welding wire that you use that you buy for different materials. So if you can use, it depends. There's a welding wire specific to stainless steel, to mild steel, and to aluminium. And this wire is usually like a roll, I think it's like 100 meters. And this now, because it uses laser, and what it does is, you've got a wire coming through like this, and your beam coming through like that. So the moment the wire comes out automatically, the moment you press the trigger, and it starts coming out. So there's no wastage. Whatever comes out is vaporized immediately and welded onto your material. So the wastage is very minimum on laser technology in general across the board. You're not, even in terms of power consumption, lasers don't utilize a lot of power. There's no, you need a gas stove, just like any other welder. So yes, you still need the argon for your mild steel. You're still gonna need that, but it's not. It's now controlled. Right? It's now very much controlled. The moment you press, remember you're now using the system already detects this is the correct pressure for this wire thickness. Yes. So it's no longer just with our normal roads, we just and then we go and we finish roads and whatnot. But everything on this is controlled by the software. So the amount of wastage is very minimum. That's why it's also expensive to get one, but it can, in the long run, the benefits are great. They're huge. There's less wastage in most of these technologies compared to the traditional way we used to do things. So your pricing, you're still going to compete with the guys who are doing it there. And also people often ask, can I weld thicker plate, thicker material? The answer is still yes, because you do get different wire thicknesses, and when you buy the machine, you get it with different nozzles as well. You even get one with a dual nozzle. A dual nozzle actually has two wires coming out of it. And the reason you want two wires is because some people want a very thick weld, like also when you're doing a thicker plate. You want to make sure that the weld is strong. So there's an opportunity to use either a thicker wire or to have dual wires coming out, and getting a very nice thick weld. So it's for most of the applications I've seen, most people that I've seen use this, I've never had any complaints. And these guys are doing stuff that's going, if you're doing stuff for ESCOM, it usually goes through serious, quality control processes. So these guys wouldn't be in business if it was something that is, produces, mediocre results or, and the like. But I can tell you right now, this is where the technology is going, and the good thing with this is that anyone can weld. Anyone can weld. Even if you don't have welding background, you don't have anything, anyone can weld. Because literally, this thing, when you weld, right, there's this thing of how do I know how fast to go, or do I go too slow? The advantage of this thing is the wire pushes you. All you do is place this fire, and the wire actually moves your hand as you go. It moves your hand. So you don't have anyone involved with this thing. So it means that there is less wastage as well in that regard. You're not messing up, people's things or your products, and the walls are usually clean. Once you get the hang of it, probably maybe the first few uses, it's probably just like writing, because it feels awkward. It's very heavy. So you need to get used to the gun itself, but once you get the hang of it, trust me, it works really. Yeah.
I've got another question. On the fiber cutter,
Yes.
again, let's say you're looking into doing thin plates. You're
Yes.
talking about someone making these trunks for
Yes,
school
yes,
kids
yes.
and DP boxes.
Yes.
Material that thick. In terms of table size on the machine, there's ones that are like CNC cutters, right?
So the way these things look like, it's a picture our projector didn't work today. Let me show you what it looks like. It's a very small portable.
No, I know the one that welds. I know
Yes,
it's
yes,
portable.
yes.
I'm not talking about this one, the cutter.
Yes. Oh, okay.
The cutter
Yes.
it has got a cutting table, it's just
Yes,
like
yes,
your router.
Yes, it's got a cut.
I'm interested to know what sizes do you have in case you want to start. Obviously, you want to start with something small that doesn't cut too thick. What is the range?
What I've realized is this: whether it's because the standard size is a 1.5 by 3 meters. That's the standard size bed that fits the whole shit. Yeah. However, we've had requests, or we used to have requests where a client says, "But I don't have space for something like that, and all I want to do is cut small things like this. Do you have anything smaller?" And we'd say yes. And the supplier would tell us yes, they can do a 1.3 by 900 bed. They can even do a 600 by 600 bed, which is a 60 by 60. But the price difference makes no sense at all. You'd rather buy the big one because what they're selling to you, the most expensive component is the sauce. So let's say for a 1.5 kilowatt machine, at that time I think we used to sell it for about $899, excluding VAT, delivery, installation, and training. And somebody would come and say, "I want a 1.3 by 900, still a 1.5 kilowatt," because remember, you all trying to cut maybe 1.5 mil aluminium, 1.5 plate, and or up to 3 mil. So you need the same power source, whether it's a bigger bed or not. And then the suppliers will knock off like maybe 100K off that. And you realize 700 versus 800K just for a smaller bed. Does it really make sense? Because the power source is still the same. You're probably paying for the build-up of the material. Of which the reason why Chinese suppliers don't knock off a lot on the material is because they say that for them to run a production line for a custom product, it's going to cost them more, because the Chinese always make things on volume. They will have a line in their factory specifically for a 1.5 by 900 bed. For them to set up another line for a smaller bed, it's going to cost them more for just that one product, which is not very popular. So the price difference is not that much. There's a guy who wanted to buy also a 60 by 60 They said, no, I'm a jeweler. I want to make jewelry. So the plates I get are probably 60 by 60, and that's all I need. And you realize they were quoted about 600 something K just for a 60 by 60 1.5 kilowatt machine. So it's because the material is just what you're paying for, that's what they probably try to knock off on the material, because the source is the same, the laser head is the same, the optics, everything is the same. It will still come with the same chiller and same everything else except just the size of the bed. So, of which I'll tell you now, to buy a source you pay like 400K. So that's where the money is going to. If you, let's say you want to buy an extra source, you pay like 400K for the source. The source comes with obviously the optic cable with the head. Yeah. So you're not really saving much by going smaller. But however, I mean, if let's say you don't have the space and you don't have the use for it, then you're forced to buy the smaller bed, but for slightly less than the amount you have paid for a larger bed. But it does also, I mean, having a bigger bed has its own advantages as well, especially for cutting out signage and all that. If you want to do signage, most of these plates are probably 1.5 or something, or it's really rare to find something quite smaller. Because I mean, for signage, I mean, it's visual communication. You want people to read, to see whatever is out there from a distance. So you have to upscale, the size of the signage as well. Unless you're cutting plates for maybe there was this client who was cutting plates for trailers. So this other company makes trailers. So they have this plate that they rivet onto the back of the trailers, and small plates like this. And that's all they were doing, just cutting out those plates. They ended up making things like braai stands. They make furniture, metal furniture. Yeah, they do metal furniture as well. And one thing, yes, in addition to this, it can come with an attachment on the side for pipes. It's called a pipe cutter. So you get it either as a separate machine, laser cutter, or you get it with an additional attachment. So the gantry extends to the right where the pipe cutter is. So that's also very common because very few people have those. Now pipe cutters cut, like pipe, whether it's a round pipe or so it comes with it's more like a rotary attachment on the side, and the laser head moves there and stops there, but the rotary turns as it cuts. So this part is now turning, but this is just firing the laser. So for doing pipes, cutting through pipes and all that, you get one that's got an attachment as well if you want to do something like that. And those are very, very rare. Very rare. You don't see them often. Then it makes sense. But if there's another machine that is equally capable of giving you the same results, why not just go for it?
Yeah, but I believe we'll get there eventually, because you remember when we started printing,
yes.
Printing was very, very expensive.
Yes.
But now when it comes to printing and making fabricated shirts, we're now able to match Chinese prices. So there is no longer a need to buy a ready-made shirt in China, because now there's cheaper inks, there's faster machines. We can actually make the deadlines as faster as those guys.
Exactly.
And the advantage is we are here,
Exactly.
so orders come out fast.
Exactly.
So maybe eventually one day we're going to get to us making the machines here. But also knowledge. Knowledge is power.
Yeah.
Because these people already know what is involved, the science that is involved to do all these things. As we're still learning, and look, there is no interest. Look, there's 3 people in this class.
True. Yeah. people aren't really, I don't know, is it exposure or it's maybe just a lack of interest, but there is a lot out there that people can actually.
It's poverty. I'll tell you why I'm saying that. It's poverty. You know, if things are difficult, you'll not think about buying something that's worth 500,000. You are thinking about the next meal.
Yes,
You understand?
yes.
So when people are able to, if people know they've got guaranteed meals, guaranteed shelter for the next 3-4 months,
Yeah.
you can think about these big things.
Yes,
You know?
yes.
So I think it's poverty.
Yeah. No, true. It's you only think maybe beyond a certain point, depending on the current situation. You know, some people think it's a luxury to as long as I've got food on my table, I don't need all these problems. What if it works? What if it doesn't work? But you only thinking, you're happy with the way you are and just providing for your family. But sometimes you need a bit of foresight. You need to think ahead. How do I sustain this for the next 10 years? What if it dies today? What are my kids going to do? But if you leave a legacy for them, you say, you know what, guys, I quite like what I've seen. I've been to Indian-owned factories. I went to install printers in Pumalanga. This shop, this Indian guy just bought a small UV printer. He was working there with the wife, and around 1:12, I think, the wife left, went to pick up the kids from school, came back, and the next thing I'm saying, the kids are sitting there on the heat presses, doing marks, doing this, and where do they live? Behind the factory. That's where they live. And the kids, from school, they're already being, introduced into the business. By the time they're like 18, I don't think these kids will be thinking of, I want to look for a job. They'll be thinking of, they're business oriented. I can do this, I can do this, I can do that, and they've planned for the future, and that's what we need to do. I think it's something that maybe we lack as in the black community. We don't really like to think like that.
I think sometimes people think like short term.
Yes.
So they're expecting to see such a difference in like making revenue and then saying you bought the stuff. And it doesn't make sense because
Exactly.
But for some funny reasons, there is these kind of technologies. You sometimes get your money within a month or 2 months.
True.
If you do your marketing, I'll tell you, I bought my first embroidery. I got a tender which is 3 times the price of that machine. I got my money literally the same month. Same applies to all my printing machines.
Yes.
I bought that press, that Engraving press. Thank you so much.
Yes.
The money is back within 7 months.
how do you market yourself?
Social media.
But I've seen people say like sometimes social media is more of like likes and more than people just
No,
want to
you
see
get.
like
You get. Are people engaged? If you are selling, remember, there's people who market things that are useless. We are doing things that people will use every day.
Yes.
Things that people need for survival. You will get jobs. We make over sales 20K per day. Only social media. Where I am, where I'm located, I don't have a client today. I'm getting clients from all over the country and around South Africa. And it's all social media, nothing else. Understand?
Interesting. Yeah.
So when did you start your business?
After COVID, 2021.
So like the first year, was it easy or harder?
Hey, by God's grace, everything. It's only started being difficult when employ a lot of staff.
Yes.
But when I started, it was easy because I was doing almost everything. But with time, when you start to employ people are the problem. That's when you get a headache. That's when there's a lot of time.
Yeah. All right. Yeah. Social media works there.
So this is still new, like you said. There's a lot of money in this because it's still new. Other industries, there's a lot of people there.
Yes.
Prices are going down. Yeah, so it becomes very, very difficult. And very few people would buy a machine worth $500,000 to start a business. You'd rather buy a car. Yeah, you'd rather buy a car.
True. So I think, yeah, just having that gift of seeing what where the trends are going, technology-wise, having that gift of saying, this is going to actually be a big thing in the next 5 years, or not thinking about today, is actually one of the best gifts you can have. I used to work under a boss at some point, and we used to sometimes wonder, why is he buying this machine, for resale? And in his head, he had this gift, naturally he just had this gift of saying, you know what, this is going to be big, or this is going to sell after a while. And this guy started off just selling, CO2 lasers, small CO2 lasers. But now, he's got a huge, e-commerce business where he sells literally anything. He's gone from lasers to selling things like pepper shakers, salt shakers, or tacklers. And now, if you see his catalog or tackler, there's nothing he doesn't sell. One year he decided I'm going to sell racks. And that was something completely different from what we were selling. I'm going to sell racks. And right now, the amount of racks that he sells racks, for shops, for stores and whatnot. Brings in containers of racks, and people just buy racks for their stores. And it's something that I would never have thought of, that I want to sell racks. Why would I just sell racks? It's such an old thing. And so when you see things like this, some people are, get closed off immediately and think that this is for rich people only, but you don't realize the opportunities that are in this country in terms of even funding. I'll give you an example. Same place where I used to work. We used to get, for instance, the government offers these seed grants, whatnot, where they'll give you 250K. What you have to do is just go to them, have a registered business that's been transacting, obviously VAT registered for a year. They will invite you to come through for a 5-day, I think, entrepreneurial course. Once you do that, you submit your documents, you get your quotes, submit to them, and they will pay us machinery and equipment worth 250. It's not even your money. You understand? You're using government's money to do this. And it's not just CEDA. There are a couple of different organizations that are doing this within South Africa. And you don't need to have your own money to start some of these ventures. You need to just know what to do, where to go.
What do they get in return the country when they give you this country?
So what they're doing is they're hoping that they're creating jobs, creating opportunities. Once you set up, you're also creating jobs in the community. So it's not, they're not doing it for profit. They're trying to empower, their citizens. That's all. So they have. I was talking to this other lady. I think she has mastered the art of getting things for free from the government. Her entire business, she does not pay the citizen. I hope she doesn't see this.
Who edit?
I can tell you like that. Her entire business, she is not paid for any machine or equipment. And she tells me, funny, because she's now very good at it. She's now well connected. She says she was meeting with one of these guys that provides such funding to the country, to the government. She was saying about 18 billion goes back because no one is claimed it, no one knows what to do with it. It's supposed to be for to give people to utilize, to give for businesses and stuff, to empower people. But it goes back because no one has come through with an idea that I want to do this. Her whole idea sustainable energy resources. She makes bags out of whatever she makes out of recycled material. That's what she promotes. And you have no idea how many NGOs out there are pro save the planet and who are willing to just throw money at you just because of that. And she found that, that if you don't have money, you have to make it plan. You can still start this business not with all money. Nah. So yeah, I used to do more than 10, 20 quotes every time they do this every year. Every year they would give money to people, or not just give, but obviously you have to go meet a certain criteria, but you have no idea. And why is he saying the market is flooded? Guess what? 90% of all those people want to buy. They want to buy a printer, a vinyl cutter, and an embroidery machine. Yeah. So every year after year, I'll do quotes for the same things for different people. And maybe out of the 20, maybe 5 are approved. But yeah, then you already get guys that are already in the system. This lady in feedback. Her first grant, I think, was for about 600,000. I don't know how she pulled that off. Then when we went to install a couple of months later, she said, guys, I'm eligible for another 250K. Can you tell me what other machines I can get? Yeah. So then we sit down, try to structure a business. Okay, what do you want to do? Okay, this is new. Would you be interested in doing this? And then we sit with it. Okay, then get this, and that. And that's how she's also growing her business. And again, it's Hannah. So there's a lot of opportunities out there, guys, in terms of even funding itself. If you really want to, if you're really pressed for cash and you really want to get into this, if you have a passion for this, there's always a way.
Tommy, I saw this at what do you think about that one? Is it the same machine we're talking about?
Laser cutting machine, 1530 ray cut, yes. So there's a fiber for ferrous metal sheet cutting machine, yes. 1530, 1350 cutting table ray tubes. So that's an angle like this, 45. So that when the beam hits it, you direct it to this mirror here, second mirror. Then you direct it to the third mirror, which is under here, and then out to the laser head. So the laser head inside somewhere here is where your focusing lens is to be focused at beam, so that it gets to the size of the needle. So if I press pause now, it's going to shoot through the beam. It's going to put a small hole. So that's the size of the beam now. Yeah. So yeah. So you look at the back. Yeah. The noise you hear here, that's the air. Your air is coming from a pump there. So your laser will come with an air pump. That's actually a CO2. Fibers will not have an air pump. So the air is to make sure that when you're cutting, let's say for instance wood, the air also displaces fumes and it helps with clearing whatever you're cutting so that it doesn't melt back together. Things like perspex. You don't want it to melt back together, to glue back together once it's been melted. So you must never cut without air. If you cut without air when you're cutting things like wood or paper, you will see a flame. And that usually is an indication that your air pump is off. And then other than that, there's that water pump I was talking about. It's a chiller, it's at the back there, that part is messy, not very clean. You rather have a chiller than to want to see that things can fall in there. And you also need to frequently change that water if you're using the pump system instead of a chiller.
Can you replace that with a chiller?
Yes, you can. Yes, you can. Yeah. So in order to reduce the price of the machine if you're buying it, some people remove the chiller and sell it with the pump. The chiller now, if you're going to get an industrial chiller, you pay like 12,000 for a chiller, whereas a pump is like 1,000 rand. So yeah, if people want to reduce the price, total price, they opt to either get it without a chiller and rather get a pump. But it will cost you at the end of the day because the chiller protects the tube where your heat is generated. So without the tube, no laser. And it's easy for the water to overheat if it's not being cooled. It's just at room temperature. And what you'll notice is that in some cases, in summer, before you even start cutting or engraving, your water is already at ambient temperature. The moment you start cutting, it shoots up to like 25, 30 degrees. So it's really not something that I advise people to get. So you obviously need a computer to control the laser head. Whatever design you want to put there, this is simply just going to follow that. So the control software is required for this. I mean, it varies depending from supplier to supplier. This specific one uses RTWorks, which is free. So if you lose it or anything, it's unlicensed, it's free, you go online, just download it, and you connect it to your laser. That's the good part of RTWorks. However, you do get some software that you pay for, like library. I don't know why people actually prefer doing that, but some say library is more stable and all that. But it's almost based on RTWorks. If you look at the interface, it's exactly the same as that, with more features. Obviously, maybe that's what you pay for. But trust me, this does anything. You don't need to pay for any software. This does everything you want. Especially for all lasers with what's called a meter controller. It's a special controller there that works well with RTWorks. So we're just going to quickly just go through the process of designing something in Illustrator or CorelDRAW. I'll use Illustrator. I prefer Illustrator or Corel. And send it through and see how this is to operate. And what you can produce here is actually dependent on how creative you can get. So for now, we're just going to do an example of maybe a keyring out of time. Just going to cut out a keyring and let's just rather dive into that. So RTWorks takes AI files, takes DXF files, it takes ELT files. So a lot of people ask the question, what file formats do I need to save my hardware in? Because some people prefer designing in CorelDRAW instead of Adobe Illustrator. So CorelDRAW also does save those formats as well. So it really depends on your whatever you prefer. So if you're going to use Illustrator, save you're going to save your artwork as a DXF, ELT, or Adobe Illustrator H5, which is my personal favorite compared to any other format. DXF not so much for one reason. When it comes to, let's say, circle or text or anything that's got a curve, a DXF file is not exactly smooth, it's not exactly round. So if you zoom into it, you can see it's actually a bunch of lines that are like this. Not like a normal roundish. Yeah. So I prefer AI8 instead. Let's see.
What's the other thing?
wants to offer up a name for a curie? We're going to do a curie.
You can say it.
Did you tell us your name?
Yeah.
So that is, this is what I was talking about here. Attaching that head on
Yeah.
the stake. And then start cutting.
I think it's possible, but you need a combination of, someone who can do the framework, the hardware, and someone who can code as well. Because you need to code now the software to give instructions to the head. You say, move this way, move that way, or follow this shape or whatnot. So,
No, if you get a CNC machine that's already operating without the route,
yeah.
and then you attach it with a fiber cut.
You are your manufacturer.
Look, it's possible. It's possible.
I think it's possible.
It's possible.
Because all you need is to get a signal that once
Say
this starts to
fire.
move, fire.
Exactly. Yeah. No, it's possible. It's possible. It's yeah. You just need to get the right people to work with who are clever enough to write code for it or instructions for it.
If you went to engrave on something on medium, what do you do? So more this deep.
To go this deep, you need a fiber engraver, like maybe a 51 fiber engraver. You can go that deep.
51 fiber.
Yes. 50 watts can go that deep, but it will take a long time. You have to loop it. So the software allows you to loop it so that you go several passes to take off material. So what happens when you want to do a deep engrave, like for a point, you layer your artwork in such a way that you have what's called a destructive engraving layer, and then you have a clean pass that cleans, and then you dig deep, and you in, dig deep, then you in. So it might take you, unfortunately, if you want to do deep engraving, it might take you maybe almost an hour to go like maybe 3 mil into aluminum or whatever still you want to engrave into.
So we
Not
just-
still.
I was not just talking about just one, or if you have like many points in that. Was that an hour for all of them, or it's just
For one.
No, usually what they usually do that for is for making jigs. Right.
Yes, yes.
Like you want to make a jig to create a certain product. So you do on aluminium, and then that aluminium becomes your negative
Yes.
for making a whole lot of new products. So taking an hour to make a jig, that's going to last you a lifetime. It's not bad.
There's these guys who are doing aluminium. Stamps. What are they called? Yeah, you see these branding irons. These, yes, this like this one. The guys who are doing it locally here. What are they called? Custom metal stamps. These stamps. But you see stamps like this, out of brass. This one. So this, to make this one stamp would take you a couple of hours with a standard 30 watts. But if you have a 3D scanning head and maybe it's a 50 watt or 60 watt motor fiber, this will take you maybe 30 minutes to make one like this. And one of our clients who's in a similar line of work makes coins for poker, personalized poker coins, poker chips, yeah, out of brass. And that's what they do. They just make those for casinos, not the plastic. There's custom and usually made out of brass. They've done the cheaper ones out of mild steel, but these brass ones come out really nice and also look very expensive.
How do you charge that?
I don't know how to charge that. I'm sure it comes with fortune. Yeah. And then is this page I wanted to show you. This guy who's using the laser. I'll show you a bit of this guy. Let me show you his business. He's just centered around leather. So this was my very first client I saw the laser to. These are the bags that are
Like
making.
before this, it was just like wallets.
Wallets and phone cases.
These are local made.
Yes, this guy is a reader.
And then it just went into like
Yeah.
And also it's
This guy is a reader and
And you
he's,
see, there's so many opportunities.
yeah.
that's what I've been saying.
And yeah, this is genuine leather, bags, wallets, what. So the laser cuts your cutting time, tremendously. You get a cutting per bag. The good thing with the laser is it even does the whole stitching. And all you have to do is to stitch if you want to hand stitch. If you have a sewing machine, you glue it together, put it together, and you just use a sewing machine to stitch.
so with the logo, there's another reason for the logo under eye or whatever. The other one is Coca-Cola.
Oh, no. This is actually, you see this, it's foil. Yeah, it's just foil. Yeah. They press it on, yeah. It's just foil. Yeah. So after making it, then they just personalize it with, the machine looks like an old stamping machine. So you buy this plate, and then you personalize it.
What do they do for this part of this? It's just for the lives.
No, it's a working card.
It's a working
Yeah.
Wow.
Because you transfer the chip on.
Transfer the chip onto there. It's a working card.
So you have to break your card and put the chip on
They
it.
literally, you see, there's the card, they remove the card from there and put it
clean.
So when you go into the bag, you can insert it.
Yeah.
Wow.
It works, yeah, 100%. It works. Yeah.
You put it for people to look at me. But it's cool though.
Yeah.
I wonder why you guys are not taking this idea because
And it's probably expensive to how much do the banks charge for it? About 70, right?
Yeah, I think it's like
Yeah. These guys will probably charge you like maybe 500, 800 bucks for a car. Yeah. Yeah. And then you have a unique part, and you see, all you have to do is when you change your card, is just change the chip.
and then your number.
Yeah.
You put
Well,
you can put
there
it
is no card. They don't put it there.
at the back where there's a reflection.
No. They didn't. You see, like here, they're not putting the card number on it.
Yeah, they just do the front and your initial.
So I'm sure for privacy as well, they
Yeah.
can't
So in the-
market those ones with numbers on there.
Because remember, your card, you only need it when you're purchasing online and you want to, your details and whatnot. But
Yeah,
normally,
card.
even the CVV number, I don't know, yeah, unless you want it there, I see no reason why. If you want it there, you can literally just ask them to put it for you.
It's like showing like this is
Then
a
this
big
breaks. Yeah.
So yeah, so these people are doing there's a lot
You
of
can literally do
Yeah.
Well, what's this guy's handle?
For some time I've been failing to
What's this
get
guy's
tips
handle?
for these things, but
Yeah.
yeah.
There's a lot, yeah. So you see, when these guys are combining now a UV printer. You see, the same guys, they're combining a UV printer with mine. So you see, they're going to make card. And that one. And then they going to engrave and UV print.
Oh, FBI.
US Navy.
Oh, that's what you were gonna explain. Yeah.
So it's if you are creative enough, you can come up with ideas that you have, and also sometimes you see. One of my mates used to tell me that he spends time on Instagram just researching, just see what other people are doing, just to get ideas. Because these guys are in America, but I sold one fiber to these guys in North Right, and they're doing exactly the same. They're just copying the same thing, doing the same thing. They're the only ones in South Africa who are doing this. So, and that's all they're doing, just doing cuts, and also they're doing NFT tags. Like you can business cards, NFT business cards with an NFT chip. They program the chip, and then you don't have to give people your business card. They just tap it with their phones, and then they have your details.
That's the one. I
Yeah. So.
But then with that, you sell it the same way as like a company business cards, or do you sell it like how you
Obviously more, I think, but the thing is now you're not always gonna worry about not having cards at all to give people. As long as somebody's with a smartphone, they can just get your contacts. You go to an event, you don't need to carry 100 business cards. Just carry one item. People can just tap.
so with that you actually go through
Yeah.
like having your Instagram and everything else.
Yeah, you can even load your socials on it. Because remember, it's programmable. It's the NFT thing. You can program it to put everything you want people to see. Your socials, everything, and program it there. And then whenever people do this, your contact will have links now to your socials, Instagram, Facebook, and everything else.
So if you say it needs like your old timeless, because like what is that? What is that?
Tombstones you can engrave, however,
On the highlight.
no. It has to be a CO2. Yeah. But tombstones you are limited to black granite if you want to get good results. face of the person there, and it's mostly in the material than anything else. Some tombstones are very hard and they are very difficult to engrave. But if you get what's called in the industry, our tombstone industry, they have identified what's called black granite, or some call it the basic granite or the Rhodesian granite. So that's the best granite to engrave because it's also soft and it gives you the best contrast. It's black. And if you try to engrave something like that and compare to black granite, they look completely, different. The black granite engraves much, much better. But there is a machine specifically, a laser specifically for granite because granite is heavy. Most lasers are like this with the bend and moves up and down. Hand stitched because I was able to do the holes with the laser. It's not precise and personalize it as well.
Well, you put the holes on the laser,
Exactly.
and then you can use a manual needle too. Wow.
Then I just stitched it. So this, and this is just, this is about a 2-year-old using 1.6 mil vegetarian leather. So,
Yeah, when I am my guy.
There's a lot to go into this now.
Yeah, my guy.
so it's opportunities are endless. There's a lot of it. And these patterns, they're free online. You get these patterns for free online on Etsy. If you will find sometimes if you find something really something unique on Etsy that's like maybe 100 rand, 200 rand, it's worth it, to buy a pattern for
From
200
which
rand.
side?
Etsy, it's called Etsy.
ESTY.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
ETS.
Oh,
Yeah.
yes.
Yeah. So they sell patterns there for different things, passport holders, even bags. No one, sometimes, there's really no need to reinvent the wheel. You go on Etsy, because designing takes time. I won't lie to you guys, designing takes time. You go on Etsy, you buy a pattern for 100 rand, and that's it. You tweak it to just make yours.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's it. Yeah. And you've got a product that you're selling because I've done passport holders, I've done wallets, I've done these card holders, and the few that I really designed, I actually don't use them because there's so many errors. Because trying to do these holes, trust me, it's not as simple as it looks. Remember, you have to cut the top part, like the pocket at this, and the pocket and this back. The holes need to match up, so that it's easier for you to see them, put the needle through and stitch. If they don't match up, then you're probably wasted material. So sometimes trying to do it, I usually just get a pattern, tweak it, and use these holes for everything else I do, because the holes are the same. You want the holes to match. These holes here must match here because this is attached to the bottom. So all you need to do is just to do a little bit of editing, and that's it. And you've got yourself a product that you can sell. And like you were saying, every time I also do the same thing for the wallets. I've only got Instagram. I've got a Facebook link to the Instagram, and I don't really use it. I use this for 3 days or 5 days, like 500 rand. I'm guaranteed to get at least about minimum at worst 5 orders. I've used 400 rand to do this. I sell these for 600 each, personalized. So it's really worth it, and I don't have a marketing team. I don't have no one to market. We do have another corporate gift in business where we do the e-pressing and the t-shirt, the vinyl, DTF and whatnot, and it's the same thing. We do the same thing as well. We just push. That one is got a TikTok page. Apparently TikTok is got to influencers. TikTok for some reason has just blown up. Like if you have a business TikTok and you post on TikTok, trust me, you're also guaranteed that you're going to get orders straight from.
There's a lady that does TikTok and she started like 2 years ago. I think the TikTok is about 2 years ago. And like, she's almost 20 years.
Yeah, you see. So it's easier these days now to make money and to market. You don't have to hire a marketing agency. It's easy. When you are that big, I think maybe you get to a certain point maybe where you want to give it to open marketing firm to market your product. So you don't want the headaches. Because with this comes the headaches of responding also to clients. Because the moment you lose now, you need to, and you will get even close to like 100 inquiries. And the key is to make sure you respond and you respond on time. And you need to make sure you're there to respond. And yeah, but not everyone that inquires is going to buy. Right? Yeah. You still guarantee that you get your money back that you invested. So for someone who's really doing it seriously full time, it's easy money. It's the opportunities are there. You can start small and just grow from it. And that's it. There are a lot of opportunities out there. This kind of business.
So I want to ask, for pricing yourself in doing such things, like for the just these key goals of as an example, how would you price yourself between material, electricity, and how to use the products to sell it out?
So this, in terms of electricity, if I were to tell you now that this thing cruises as much as your normal fridge PC at home, you wouldn't believe me. This thing does not consume electricity at all. The time is in actually designing and setting up more than it is to cut and engrave. Yeah. That will give me more than 10 wallets if you get the right for yourself. I pay like 900 rand for that. Then stitching the thread, I pay 75 rand for 25 meters of thread. And that's the waxed thread. That's me, trying to make sure it's premium. Yeah. But if you go to a lot of people I've seen, even Luxon doesn't use waxed thread. They use the normal thread that's not waxed. And for 300 rand, you get like how many meters? More than 100 meters. It's a huge roll of it. So you realize that to make a wallet like this, it would probably cost me less than 50 rand to make a wallet. It's very cheap. Because what I put in here, what gives me 10 wallets, I pay like 900 rand. The stitching thing, 25 meters, like 70 rand. I also, what else do I do? I also have a polish that I put, but it's also like this, also for like 90 rand for the polish that I just, it's leather bound, just polish it before I, then, let me show you the final. And so this is how I package it. And then I can explain what I put in it and how much it costs. My page for the and this is the one I did for a client. I want to show you the bags I packaged them in and tell you how much I did. And this is all from China, by the way. Yeah, see this box here? This box, I buy 6 of them for 40 rand. This bag, pack of, I think it's a pack of 12. It's like 95 rand. China bag. And then, yeah.
Is that vinyl on top?
No, it's actually DTF.
Okay.
Yeah. So DTF, the square meter, my logo I can fit, I think about almost 30 logos. It's 120 rand.
And then for on the box, what is that you do? The whole part of it is easy too?
It's a material called mirror acrylic. So it's a piece of acrylic, very thin, but it's got a mirror and a shiny side. So what I do is I just take away the small piece of this. So if you go to Eco Signage, they sell offcuts of these things. And I think something like maybe 20 rand for an A4 sheet. So everything you put in here, trust me, is not expensive at all. It's as long as you know where to get it.
Yeah.
So I get the bags from, when someone looks at the time for it, they're not going to tell that they have all these things. They're going to think, this is the best packaging. I remember I did wallets for this, it's called Long-Sold. It's a property management firm based on houses, properties and whatnot. And I sold him one. And because of that one, the way I packaged it, I decided to buy the entire team, the entire company. And he claims that I had the best packaging ever. But that's also because I personalized everything. If you look at the gold black I put there, it's personalized and to whoever. So I'll usually write there handmade for so and so. People like that stuff. I don't know for some reason. Handmade for this person and what. And that's it. And then I personalize the wallet itself, put a message in there, and put my logo right at the bottom there. It's mostly what the client wants. Yeah. So you take it from just a ordinary gift to something memorable. Give someone that gift. They're probably going to cherish that gift and remember it more than someone who just went to freedom of movement and was allowed to give it to the person. You know, it's not personalized, it's just, yeah. So, opportunities in there, the market is huge, there's a lot you can do. See this guy, Latson, when he was doing phone cases, he was not even doing wires at that time. I was not doing leather, I was doing phone cases, I was doing
Didn't you do
suits.
boards as well? Like, was it a cutting board?
At some point, he did the brine sets as well. He wanted the wooden handles to do that. And when I sold him his first machine, that's what he was into. Then he came to me at some point and said he really wants to get into leather. And I didn't take him seriously at that time. And he wanted a logo for his leather business. And 1 or 2 products. So I designed his first logo for last one for the leather business. Then I designed a handhold for the phone case. That's how I started the leather business. I was shocked. Fast forward 1 year later, what he had done with that business. He's far. But also the thing is, what I really like about this guy is marketing. He's a marketing genius. He's very good. He's very good. You know what he does? He will make a bag, and then he will tell his people, or he just puts their guys, help me get this bag into customers' hands. Fast forward 1 week later, arrangements have been made. He's gifting customer the bag with whatever. Trust me, the amount of likes, the amount of followers, the amount of orders he gets from
I
post.
found out about him through
Yeah.
this artist, I don't know if you know her, but she's an influencer.
Yeah.
made a full place for her.
Yeah. That's what he's doing. That's what he does. He just gets influences, but then what he gets in return also his brand is out there, and he's managed to make his brand a premium brand. And if you look at his pricing, you can see I charge $650 on this thing. His wallets of handle is $1,200. And it's the same.
Yeah.
I can ask for the phone casing, can you add leather and acrylic onto it? Or just pure leather?
Mostly leather, and also what it does is the way it starts with is you can import wooden cases from China, personalize those. If you want to get into making real leather phone cards, it's still possible, but I've seen most guys crafters do it, but no one here, mostly in America, but I've seen crafters do even the ones for the keys. Like they make these nice leather pouches for the keys, like for Porsche keys or Bentleys and whatnot. And it's a craft though. It takes time to learn. They make these nice cases for Porsche that I've never seen. Because Porsche, you have to wear the leather or the bed, and then you get like the thing that you put on it to shape it, and it's a process. But then also the value you put on it, because there are people out there who really appreciate craft, like just the skill of being an artisan, somebody who sits there and literally makes something from scratch with their hands. And by the time someone sells it, it's not like just going to a shop and buying it from Pixar. It's like that guy who like you buy a Porsche, you take it to him, his job is to break it apart, rebuild it or modify it into something. He's an awesome artist, a Japanese artist, but and you pay almost double, that, yeah.